This sermon was supposed to be preached last Sunday, which would have been Valentine's Day weekend. And so the opening story is one about my husband. And so I hope that you will allow me to still tell it, even though it's not Valentine's Day weekend. I don't talk about him often, though he is the biggest part of my life. Second to Jesus, honey, but it's... My husband and I have been married for 8 years, a little more than 8 years. We haven't been married for a super, super long time, but long enough, amen? And I always think about weddings and getting married and how you choose your spouse. I always thought when I was little that it would be just sort of a laborious process. I'm hard to love sometimes. I know that's shocking to many of you here this morning. But I have things, right, that I just was looking for in a partner, in a life partner, in a parenting partner that I really wanted to make sure I got right. And then I swiped right on Tinder, and Jonathan Sipe popped up. And on our first date, I knew I was going to marry him. Yeah. I mean... There went all the checklists. There went all of the Google documents that I had about who would be the perfect spouse for me. It just seemed to go right out the door. We were married within 6 months of our first date, if you did not know that. Yeah. He asked me to marry him within 6 weeks. So there's that. But I think about this, right? One of the biggest commitments you can make to another human being is that you are going to stay with them and love them forever, right? I mean, marriage is just almost ridiculous if you think about it, right? I am going to choose this fallible human being, and I'm going to stick by their side no matter what comes our way. Wow. Yeah, wow. And I thought about something else. What would have happened if I looked at Jonathan on October 22nd, 2016, and said, well, I've made this commitment. I'm your wife. I promise to be with you forever. So there's that. It was nice getting to know you. We'll just continue this partnership, but I think I know all I need to know. I've made the commitment, right? I'm your wife. What kind of marriage would that be? It wouldn't be good, that's for sure. And here's why, right? We continue to get to know our spouses when we're married to them, right? Over years and years and decades. And hopefully we continue to love them deeper and deeper in both the good times and in the times that they leave their toothbrush and toothpaste all over the sink, amen? But I thought about another thing. Isn't that sometimes how we treat our faith? We get to know Jesus, maybe by reading the scriptures, maybe by going to a church in which you hear sermons about Jesus, maybe by reading a good book about the life of Jesus. We get to know who Jesus is, and we say, I'm going to be a follower of Jesus. I'm going to commit my life to following Jesus, and then that's that. Am I preaching to the choir this morning? I think many of us say that's that, and we quit getting to know and fall in love with Jesus. And yet we would never think about a marriage being healthy if we did that to our spouses. I thought about another thing, though. I thought about, what would it be if on that day of our wedding vows, if we sort of gave each other a sheet, sort of like a how-to sheet. Here's how to love me. Here's all of my strengths. And here's some things that you will learn to love. And we kind of exchanged those when we did our wedding vows, right? And so we got to look at the cheat sheet and we got to figure out who our spouse was by reading all of the information that we could about them. I can guarantee the honeymoon wouldn't be the same. If I would have read the rap sheet of my husband, let's face it, his rap sheet is actually very short. It's mine, that I would be terrified if he had, right? There's one thing I do that is super special. When I get stressed out, I craft. Anybody else in the room a stressful crafter? Just me? It's fine. My kitchen table becomes covered in wreath-making materials, ribbons, scissors, glitter, all of the things, If you see stuff all over my kitchen table, it means I am not well. I am stressed out. And sometimes it might just be for a long weekend. Sometimes it's for 14 business days, right? I mean, it just takes me a while to get through that season. And when it first started happening, my husband was like, when is this going to be cleaned up? Because he is a neat freak. And I was like, when I'm done, okay? Now, 8 years later, guess what he does? He comes into the room and he says, what you making? Who are you making it for? Do you have an idea? And he starts to ask me questions about my creative process and what color ribbon I'm going to use. And he looks at what I start to create and he comments on whether he likes it or not. He always does. He's learned that this is just part of how I handle stress. But if you would have given him that on my rap sheet on our first week of marriage, he might have thought otherwise, right? Because when we start to learn about each other, we're also with one another. And we start to fall deeper into compassion, understanding, and love of one another. It's the difference between a resume and a relationship. And yet, how many of us have gone to the resume and read about Jesus and said, I think I got a pretty good understanding. I'm done here. And we think we know who Jesus is, but we don't know Jesus. We don't have a relationship with the risen Christ that changes the way we look and see the world. It might go something like this. Today's scripture comes from John's Gospel, chapter 13, and I want you to listen to this story. I want you to hear who in the story knows about Jesus and who in the story knows Jesus, okay? Here's the story. Here's how it goes. Now, before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them until the end. The devil had already put into the heart of Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray him. And during supper, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table, took off his outer robe and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into the basin and he began to wash the disciples' feet and wipe them with the towel that was tied around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? Jesus answered, Do you not know now what I am doing, but later you will understand. Peter said to him, You will never wash my feet. Jesus answered, Unless I wash you, you have no share with me. Simon Peter said to him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. And Jesus said to him, One who has bathed does not need to wash except for the feet, but is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you. For he knew who was to betray him. For this reason he said, Not all of you are clean. After he had washed his feet, he put on his robe. He returned to the table and he said to them, Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash another's feet. For I have set you an example, that you should also do as I have done to you. Very truly, I tell you, servants are not greater than their master, nor are messengers greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them. The reading of God for the people of God. So this is a weird story, right? We've got these disciples gathered for this meal, and what would have been the custom is that one of the servants of the house would have come and washed the feet of those who are gathering at the meal. Now, this might sound really weird if you don't understand the ritual eating customs of people at that time. It's not like it is today where we pull up a chair and we sit with our feet on the ground for the supper, right? You would have reclined with sort of your feet next to the person next to you on a pillow while you were eating. This is, right? Do you get what I'm saying? Okay. And so if your feet are covered in the dust, because also we're not wearing, socks and tied up Nikes, right? We're wearing sandals. And so the dust would have been all over your feet, would have been in sort of like your neighbor's face while they're eating. Okay, so not normally the most appetizing way to eat your meal. And so you would have had your feet washed for every meal, but the servants of the house would have washed the feet. So if we know something about Jesus, if we have the resume of Jesus, at this point we know Jesus is a rabbi and a teacher. These are held to high standards in the status of the society at this point. So who's washing feet at this supper? Not Jesus, right? If we know that Jesus is a rabbi and a teacher, it ain't him. So already our knowledge about Jesus isn't helping us. And then when Jesus gets down and tells them that, I'm not just washing your feet for this meal, but I'm showing you how you should emulate me when I leave this world, they're also going, huh? Because we also, probably, most of them, tax collectors, carpenters, they don't wash feet normally. Not many of the disciples were of the servant class. So what is he talking about? This doesn't make sense if we just know Jesus, because at this point, knowing Jesus is to know the law, the Levitical law. And the law does not state that people should wash others' feet unless they're of the servant status. So everything we know about Jesus and about this meal and about this moment doesn't help us at all to understand what's going on. The only way to understand what is happening in this moment is to be present in it with Jesus and to watch and to listen and to try to understand what's on his mind and what's on his heart. You see, when we take a step back and we really look at what he's doing as he gets beneath his disciples and his gaze is looking up into their eyes and he's caressing and washing and caring for them as he washes the dirt off of their feet, we begin to feel something, right? Have you ever had your feet washed? If you haven't, we're going to do it on Monday, Thursday. I immediately go, oh my goodness, when was my last pedicure, right? How do they smell? I just don't want this person to have to touch my stinky feet, and I wear shoes. I'm all of a sudden transformed into all of the humanity that I live in, right? The skin that smells sometimes. The sweat, the dirt, the unkempt toenails. Yeah, I said it. And I'm putting them in the face of somebody who I call my teacher and my Lord. And then he says, if you don't let me do this, then you can have no part in me. If you don't allow me to hold the dirtiest part of your humanity, if you don't allow me to touch the bottoms of the soles of the feet that you tread on, then you'll never understand how much I love you. You'll never understand how much I love you. And so as Peter extends his foot and sits in this moment, we see him start to comprehend, and yet, gosh, don't we love Peter? Top of his class at Disciples College, right? Always trying to get the A. And he's like, well, then wash my whole body, wash my head, wash my hands, wash every part of me. I want to be consumed by you, Lord. And we have to watch Jesus again, because what does he do? He says, slow down in your enthusiasm, Peter. Oh, wow. How many of us in our faith need to be told to slow down in our enthusiasm because we're passing quickly by the point? Oh, how many of us in our piety and in our purity standing up and saying, watch how I can follow the Lord. Watch all the check marks I have on my Google sheet of faith. Look at me. Oh, look at me. And how many of us hear the words of Jesus to Peter saying, calm down and listen closely, because that ain't it. Before the cock crows 3 times tonight, you'll deny me. You'll deny me 3 times tonight. Because you're not listening, Peter. You're not looking. You're not letting it seep in. That to love like I love is to be a servant to all. You know, I need to pause for just a minute here, because it has been a long week. In whatever way, it's been a long week for you. It's been a long week. And what I've seen is that some of my friends who profess to follow the sacrificial lamb of Jesus and the risen Christ of our Lord have said, you know what, I'm done kind of playing nice, and now I'm ready to take up the sword. And that's exactly what Peter does in this story. He believes that following Jesus is to defend Jesus. He takes out the sword. Do you remember? And he cuts the guard's ear, right, in the town square. And Jesus says, Peter, did you understand nothing? Peter was there for the lesson. He was literally there with the Master, with the Messiah, in the physical lesson of how to bend the knee and to love and to wash one another's feet. And yet he immediately goes to the sword to take up power against his perceived enemies. And Jesus says, no, Peter. Where is the towel? Where's the basin? Where's the waters of baptism? Where is your love? Y'all, it's been a hard week, but it's a reminder that I need. I think a lot of us think that loving people is easy. And we think it's easy because we think that our love is expansive. Maybe we've loved people that maybe we didn't love when we were younger. Maybe our love has transformed and grown as we've grown up, and we're proud of the way that we love our neighbors as ourselves. We love our immigrant neighbors and our refugee neighbors, our neighbors of different colors. We love our neighbors of different sexual orientations. We love our neighbors who identify differently than we do, and we are so proud of the way we love until somebody comes and says they believe differently, and then we say, crucify him. Do we not? And yet we're over here touting how much we love. I've been convicted this week by watching, once again, immersing myself in this story and seeing Jesus on his knees in front of me, saying, extend your stinky toe of what you think your love is. Because you ain't got it, sister. You ain't there yet. Humble yourself, and I will show you the way. I think some of us doubt that Jesus will show us the way. But throughout history, Jesus has shown us the way. But it's a difference between learning about Jesus and learning Jesus. So what do we do, Ashley? And how do we go from here? Well, as we look at Michael Frost's book, one of the ways that he encourages us to learn Jesus is to be immersed in the Gospels. They are the 4 books in the beginning of the New Testament that are about the life and love and ministry of Jesus. They're Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And what Michael encourages us is to take one of those Gospels and to immerse ourselves in the story of Jesus. Not just to say like, oh, he did this, I'll do that too. Oh, he did this, I'll do that too. Not just to know what Jesus did, but to sit back and immerse yourself in the story and to see if you can find the heart of Christ. Why did he do that? Who is Jesus moving towards in this story? And am I following? Because I'll be honest with you, if Judas of Iscariot was sitting at the table with me right now, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but it's been a long couple of months, and I'm ready to go. And Jesus is sitting here saying, child, sit down. Sit down and learn to love yourself the way I love you. And then, and only then, can we talk about loving one another. There are 4 gospel stories. If you have not picked up one of the worship sheets that we've provided for this sermon series, today I encourage you to pick it up on your way out because I've given you the information about how the 4 gospels are different. So if you want to pick up one of the gospels this week and look at the life of Jesus, each one looks at it from a particular lens. And so this sheet will tell you which lens each gospel comes from. And then on the back, instead of giving you a verse every day to read, it just says, choose your own adventure, Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, right? Choose your own adventure. And then here's a great question each day, Monday through Friday, to ask about the story, no matter where you are. It's a great pondering question to ask about learning more about Jesus, not just who Jesus is, but why Jesus does what he does. So Matthew is the who of Jesus. Right? We learn that Matthew is the Jewish Messiah. We learn a lot about how he fulfills the prophecy of the kingdom coming and the genealogy of Jesus. Mark's gospel is the what of Jesus. We learn about the power and the miracles, the teachings, and how Jesus confronts evil. So it's the what of Jesus. Luke is the why. We learn a lot about why Jesus does what he does in the Gospel of Luke. We hear a lot of parables about his compassion, especially as he moves towards the marginalized of society. And then John, one of my favorite Gospels, is the how. It talks about how can Jesus be who he says he is. It talks about the divinity of Jesus, how he's one with the Father, and the way that he leads us to eternal life. So each of these Gospels gives you a little bit of something different, but I encourage you this week to be absorbed in one of them. I'll give you a little heads up. We're going to be in the Gospel of Luke all through Lent. So if you want to do a different one right now, we're about to be in that one for the month or for the 6 weeks of Lent coming up. But I encourage you this week to go deeper with our faith. I'm going to close with this last story really quickly. It's about a carpenter. There was this young kid who really wanted to learn how to be a woodworker. And so he looked at all of the master carpenters around him, and he started to watch what they did. And he went into the one that was his favorite. He went into his shop one day, and he said, I've been watching you for a long time, and I think I understand. And the carpenter said, cool. Here's a block of wood, and here's a chisel. Let's see what you can do. And so the young apprentice starts to carve away at the wood, just like he's watched the carpenter do 1,000,000 times. But the problem is the wood starts to crumble in his hands. It's rough around the edges. He can't get it quite right. And he said, I just don't understand. I thought I had it. I've been watching you for so long. And he said, it's a difference between watching me and being with me. Come over here. And the master carpenter takes his hands in his hands, and he begins to hold the wood, and he begins to talk about what kind of wood he's carving into and the nature of that piece of wood and how that piece of wood crumbles beneath the chisel. And so how he has to hold the chisel just right to not break it down too fast. You see, there's a difference between reading the scriptures and as we read the scriptures, inviting ourselves to be with Jesus. Y'all, there's a lot of people talking about Christians today around the world. They're looking at people who call themselves followers of Jesus, and they are questioning what in the world it means because they're seeing a lot of different examples. And I'm convinced, I wouldn't be up here if I wasn't convinced that following and loving the life of Jesus is the hope for our world. But we got to draw near, church. We got to draw near so that when people look at the work of our hands, they see the work of Jesus. Let us pray. God, take us this week, use us, mold us. As we open up ourselves in faithfulness to your scriptures, God, breathe into us the life of your son, Jesus. God, we are watching what's happening around us, and for some of us, we're asking the question, what do we do? Where do we go? Who's the next senator to call? How do we stop what's happening in our communities? But as we look to you, you continue to invite us at every turn to draw near to you. I don't know, maybe you know something we don't know. Maybe you see something we don't yet see. And so, God, we trust in that. We humble ourselves at your feet. God, we are your disciples. Open your heart to us that we might take courage, that we might continue to open our own hearts to love the people that you loved, to serve the people that you served, and to wash the feet of everyone we meet through the way that we speak about one another and through the lens that we view the worth of every creature. God, make us be more like you. It's in that hope that we pray in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.